today, I'm not going to say anything else other than this. The award today is given to the Lake Forest Church in Huntersville, North Carolina, one of the most dynamic churches in the EPC, in the church today, led by one of the most dynamic pastors, not only in the EPC, but across the landscape of Christianity, Mike Moses. And I would like to ask Mike and some of his good friends from the church there to please come forward. Here they come. As they come forward, let's welcome them. This is a church that began in 1998 with a core group of 150 people and now is well over 1,500 people. Not only is it dramatic growth, but within the life of this church that we are celebrating today is a DNA of church planting. And they have a tremendous story to tell. I think you're going to be thrilled. Mike, this is kind of like the Academy Awards. Look at this. Isn't that awesome? Come forward. It's a real joy on behalf of the General Assembly. It's a joy to present to you the Bartlett Hess Award, given in honor and in memory of another teaching elder in the life of the EPC, known for leaving a legacy of hard work and gospel ministry. Congratulations. Thank you. You've got the floor.
Thank you so much. We honestly, quite honestly feel there's time to be humble, and then there's time to just say straight up, we feel like we, more than anybody, deserve 100% the Bart Simpson Award for church doofishness. And we can tell stories about that, and we have great videos of that all day long. But the Bart Hess Award is something else entirely. So we thank you guys a lot. We thank you a whole lot. We feel privileged to be part of a denomination that has so many vital and healthy churches. And we have been spurred along by you. We've been encouraged by so many of you. And we're just one of those churches. We also feel encouraged to have been a part of the EPC since our founding 15 years ago. There are so many godly teaching elders in particular and ruling elders who we have been encouraged by, who embody the spirit and the ministry and the hard work of Dr. Hess. And so we love being in the EPC because we have learned from so many here in many different ways about humbly leading the church in the way of Jesus. And so we're just honored to be one of those churches. We still think of ourselves as a church plant, honestly, after 15 years. And we take as our marching orders, our vision, the bulletized version of the Great Commission, Acts 1:8. And we are sort of on a perpetual march to always make room to reach one more unchurched person in our Jerusalem, to always love and redevelop one more troubled neighborhood in our Samaria near to us, and to be perpetually looking to start the next church, one more church in our Judea and to the ends of the earth. For the glory of God and the good of mankind. We at Lake Forest, we measure health at Lake Forest. We're not really good at numbers, frankly, and so it's not a virtue, it's just because we're bad at the other part. But we measure church health by stories, and two kinds. We're always asking, are we hearing two kinds of stories? Are we hearing a story recently of somebody who's come to faith in Christ, who's discovered him as their life for the first time? Have we heard that recently? And have we heard a story recently of somebody who's followed Christ for a long time, giving over another part of their life to his lordship and dominion? And when we're hearing those two stories, we're good. And so that's what we do at the elders, is we tell a lot of God stories. And my favorite one recently, honestly, is one that encapsulates all of that. It was a family that came to our church out of spiritual hunger. They didn't know Christ. And very quickly, one member of the family became a Christian. The other was an atheist doing white-collar drugs to cover over the despair, but who went on a mission trip with us, what we call Missio Day trips that Michael leads. And in the middle of that trip, meeting Jesus in the face of the poor, became a Christian. Not because of our intellectual apologetic, not because of erudite preaching, or how much, the people in church have their life together. Come be like us. It was meeting Jesus in the face of the poor, serving alongside of gospel-oriented people together. And so right now, this summer, that person, that former atheist, is now volunteering for the summer at our Bolivian mission there in Bolivia. And so from atheist to missionary, it was kind of boom. That is what gets us up in the morning, as I know it does you too. And that's our greatest joy. And so thank you. I want to introduce our folks up here. This is Michael Flake, our associate pastor of mission and our pastor of our Lake Forest Church, Davidson. My wife, Angie Moses. Pardon? Or Marge. If I'm Bart, she's Marge. Mitch White, associate pastor. He and I have partnered together since the very beginning of spiritual formation. Dan and Stephanie Finnegan were commissioned last night. They're leaders in our congregation, and sadly to us, but great for the kingdom, they're going to go to an unreached Muslim people group in India. Dan Casey is a leader among college students in our congregation, and you two should have been together. Mandy Flake is Michael's wife, and then Courtney Rose was a member of our original 42 core group and founded our youth ministry, and now he and his family are world outreach missionaries in Western Europe. Mitch?
I was waiting for Mike to do his LeBron James holding of the award, but we've been partnered for 15 years in this, and more than anything, I want to say thanks to Cherry Hills for making this a live feed, because there are a lot of people in North Carolina at our church who are watching this right now, and this award really is for them. Is for the ministry partners, the staff, and the ruling elders who are there, who have just supported us, a bunch of guys who are just really still making it up as we go in a lot of ways. But the big part we've been committed to as well is not just in what we do, but it's how we do it. So the very beginning, we've been committed to making sure that we do this relationally. And that's been lived out by our staff. That's been lived out by our session. And it's been lived out because we hope that if we do this relationally with one another, we might actually have the chance to break some unhealthy relational patterns in the lives of people who are coming to know Jesus. There's a man named Jim specifically who came a part of our church, an older gentleman, who had this reputation of joining churches, getting angry and leaving. He joined our church. We knew it would just be a few months until he got angry again. And so he joined our parking team. And at our new members class, we tell people, sooner or later, we're going to make you angry. Sooner or later, we'll do something to hurt you. We might even accidentally sin against you. But we charge you to not just walk away. And so Jim got angry, and he told his parking leader that he was leaving. And his parking leader looked at him and said, well, you can't leave. You know that. You can't leave until you work this out. And so he set up an appointment between me and Jim. We had coffee, talked through this. And Jim, 5 years later, has been leading a ministry to a retirement center of where I go over once a month with him just to serve communion to the people there. He broke a pattern of just getting angry and leaving. But the healthy part of that is he broke that pattern in many relationships in his life. And his wife and he are healthy because of this broken pattern of us living this out. And so this award for us more than anything is to thank the elders and our staff who've been committed to living out relationally. And that doesn't mean we don't get angry at each other. I wish that didn't mean that. It doesn't mean that we don't always get along. But when we don't get along and when we disagree, we work these things through. And what I'm most thankful for is a session that meets 3 times every month. 2 early mornings, every two early Tuesdays, and 1 Monday night. And that Monday night is completely about just keeping relationships healthy, having dinner together, praying together, and living life together. And because of that, God is doing amazing things. So, Michael, just want him to say a few things.
In case you were wondering, we're not just going to walk down the line. They told me to clean it up. It's dangerous to let a preacher clean up because he'll always start by saying, I don't have that much to add. And you know what that means. Something Mike and Mitch will be too humble to point out is that they had done ministry together for over a decade when I came on the scene. And their push and pull with each other has been a lot of the brilliance behind Lake Forest Church. But what I appreciate about both of them is that they made relational room for me and leadership room for me as a young leader without pigeonholing me based on my age, but setting me free to do things that I love and things that I'm somehow wired to do, chiefly around Missio Day, and we started a 501c3, and now we've started Lake Forest Davidson. And for us to get the Bartlett Hess Award is humbling. The Bart Simpson thing would be far more apt for us. It's also humbling for us because we know something I love about Lake Forest is that God has given us a spirit of willingness to be experimental and entrepreneurial for the sake of His kingdom. And the truth is, we know a lot of y'all are better at that than we are. And you're doing far more risky things than we are for the sake of God's kingdom. So it's just, it's humbling for us. But what we can say is to the extent that you as personally in your ministry or you as your church are about experimental or entrepreneurial things, risky things, things that could fail, right? Put your talent in risk and maybe you'll lose all five. But risky things, things that could fail, things that are unorthodox, not unorthodox theologically, unorthodox methodologically. But as you are about those things, or as you want to be about those things for the sake of God's kingdom, you can know that we will be your biggest fans. And you don't have enough time to learn from all of our mistakes, but we would love to be available to you to help you along the way. We may have a thing or two to teach. We still got tons of things to learn, mostly from you. So my hope, my prayer, our prayer for our denomination, what we sort of wanted to leave with was to say to our sisters, to our brothers, let's continue to be experimental, entrepreneurial, doing risky things, methodologically unorthodox things. Let's try things that could fail for the sake of God's kingdom so that people all around the world, all throughout our country who are hungry for God, who are hungry for food, who thirst for righteousness, who thirst for water, who are imprisoned by sin, who are imprisoned behind bars, might come to know personally by experience the deep love of God that's in Christ Jesus our Lord. Let's do it together. And thanks for this little bit of recognition.
One of the things we all love about the EPC is it's not a cookie-cutter denomination. And so as we look back at past Bart Hess Award winners, they each reflect unique beauties and graces of a unique bride of Christ in her own situation. And so we were invited to put together a video about some of the unique graces of Lake Forest. And so I think we'll conclude with that, Steve. Mike Moses, lead pastor of Lake Forest Church here, coming to you from an auto dealership just the other side of I-77. This is where Lake Forest Church had its birth. This building was originally a skating rink. We started off worshiping here on a Sunday morning in 1998. Sometimes we call ourselves a rock and roll church. So let me tell you a little bit more about Lake Forest. We are in the Lake Norman area of Charlotte, North Carolina. That is the suburban area just north of Charlotte, and it's around a large recreational body of water called, oddly enough, Lake Norman. And today, Lake Forest is a church of anywhere from 1,600 to 2,300 souls. On a Sunday, our first church plant is now Lake Forest Church Davidson, is now over 300 people on a Sunday. We rejoice at that. Many of those were formerly unchurched. Our next church plant will launch in January of 2014, and we're searching for the pastor for that who will preach there right now. Fun facts about Lake Forest Church. For a decade now, we've sent at least 10% and up to 15% of our members
on short-term cross-cultural mission trips every summer. We started with a core group of 42 people. One of our staff has titled her job Worship Arts Chick. If there's one single special hidden sauce about our church, it is the unique and successful dance of mutual submission between the senior pastor and the elders at our church. Another fun fact about Lake Forest Church, during our last capital campaign, 30% of the funds that we raised over 3 years were deployed outside the walls of this church building for mission and evangelism. At the core of Lake Forest Church is the mission to be witnesses for Jesus Christ to the tribe we're called to be missionaries to. That's the tribe of the Lake Norman part of Charlotte. Specifically, the unchurched people in the Lake Norman area of Charlotte, North Carolina. We refer to them as people who've given up on church but haven't given up on God. And every Sunday, when we welcome people to worship, we say, we welcome all of you, and every week we worship as skeptics, spiritual explorers, and people who've been following Jesus together for many years. And so we're glad you're here to worship, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey. We are 3 years into a 10-year vision to become a multiplying church. That at the end of 10 years, if you scratch us, one of the things that would just bleed out of us would be, we multiply congregations. In addition to tithing our annual budget to missions, our elders have now set aside 3% annually of our budget into a church planting fund, ensuring that we will be about church multiplication at Lake Forest for the long haul. A year and a half ago, we launched a daughter church / campus. It's a hybrid. It utilizes the efficiencies of being one church but two campuses, which are many. We're now one church worshiping in 2 locations with a live teaching pastor in both campuses. And I and Michael Flake, who's the campus pastor of our daughter campus, we switch teaching every 5 to 6 weeks. So we call ourselves an ancient future church. We worship in a very future-oriented way. We speak the predominant musical language of the culture, adult progressive rock and roll, but we are on a journey of going back and recapturing and reinterpreting ancient Christian worship practices from many Christian traditions into our modern worship service. And so that includes elements like the Lord's Prayer, the Apostles' Creed, of course, which many churches are like, duh, you should have been doing that all along. Well, that's not a duh statement for contemporary worship kind of churches. And we're trying to correct that and root our people more deeply in these ways. We observe Lent now annually. We've done so for 4 years, beginning with an Ash Wednesday service that this year we shared with an Orthodox Anglican church in the community. In spiritual formation as a congregation, we decided to ramp up our discipleship, particularly at the deep end of the pool. And so our spiritual formation pastor, Mitch White, pioneered a partnership with Gordon Conwell Seminary to offer the biblical theology classes to the leaders in our congregation. And we've now done that for 1.5 years in partnership with 3 other churches here in the north part of Charlotte. Every church has its own unique, beautiful reflection as a bride of Christ. One of the beauties of this bride of Christ, we think, is a clear focus on Jesus. We try to communicate that this is about Jesus. It's not first and foremost about morality or an institution or religion or all of us being of one political stripe or making my family work or any host of other things. It's really about Jesus. And one of the ways that our elders and leaders came to communicate that a few years ago is we reformulated our core values around Jesus. And so we say them like this. Here are our core values. We will welcome who Jesus welcomed, people who've given up on church but not on God. We will love like Jesus with grace and truth. We will live like Jesus, always on the Missio Dei, or the mission of God. We will journey like Jesus, doing life together. And the last core value is we will lead like Jesus toward more and better disciples, leaders, and churches. We have the aspiration at Lake Forest to be a both-and church. It gets messy, it gets gray, and sometimes we're more of one and less of the other, but we aspire to be both an attractional and a missional church. Maybe the most clear example of being an attractional church for us is every 2 years we do a focal point sermon series that we call Hope in a House of Blues, where we experiment with a mashup of the blues that we all have in this world. Blues music, we bring in national and internationally acclaimed blues and gospel artists, and then we mash that up with our existing worship leaders and liturgy, and then we cover it all over with preaching from the Word of God, a blues text like Lamentations or the Tribulation. And it is a beautiful, palpable month in the life of our church. In fact, right now, we're in the middle of that series, and our artists have made our sanctuary this year, their artistic theme was to look like a 20th century old small town theater. So an example of being a missional church is really played out in our current, very concrete vision, our long-term vision. Our vision is very clear, and it is textual to Acts 1:8, where Jesus said, "You will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." Another example of being a missional church is the fact that out of our last capital campaign, we created a neighborhood redevelopment foundation. We seeded it with $500,000. And basically, we are investing ourselves relationally into loving on the people of a neighborhood that's just a mile away from our building that has a massive amount of social and spiritual need. The neighborhood is predominantly a mobile home park. So our Acts 1:8 vision is one more person that we'll reach in our Jerusalem, one more church that we will plant in our Judea and the ends of the earth, one more neighborhood that we will love in the name of Jesus in our Samaria, and one more leader who we will raise up at a time to do ministry inside and outside of our church. That's our vision. Everybody gets it. It's one more. So that's a bit of a description of the ways that we are trying to live out the tension of being an attractional and a missional church, simply in the image of Jesus' ministry when he was on earth. Some more fun facts about Lake Forest. When we built this building, we put showers in the worship center bathrooms so that we could do what we do now, which is we are an overflow homeless shelter in our building. We partner with other churches in a local mission every December that we call the Christmas Village Toy Store. Long story short, we take out everything out of the worship center, and for one weekend, our worship center becomes the largest toy store north of uptown Charlotte. This year, we were able to serve hundreds of low-income families who were able to purchase toys at a very reduced price, and then the money that they paid for the toys, we turned around and gave to the local food bank. The heart of discipleship at Lake Forest is in our community group ministry. We encourage every adult to be part of a community group, either evenings meeting in homes with mixed men and women, couples and singles, or a men's group or a women's group, studying the scriptures together. And we tie a lot of those groups into discussions out of the sermon weekly. As your host, we're really honored to be nominated for the Bartlett Hess Award as a congregation. Really honored.
God is doing a great work in Huntersville, North Carolina, and we'll continue to celebrate that.